So let me start the today's session. Yesterday we discussed about some fundamentals. What is a data structure? What is a data structure? Types of data structure. Am I correct or not? So what is a data structure? It is a way of organizing the data in the computer's memory so that it can be used effectively. There are two types of data structures we are having: physical data structure, logical data structure. So physical data structures mostly deals with the memory. Physical data structures will define how the memory is organized or reserved to store the data. Array and linked list, they will come under physical data structure. So you all know what is the drawback of an array. The size of an array is fixed, it is static. Array can be stored either in the stack area or in the heap area, based on the way how you are creating an array. Sir, what is a linked list? You know, linked list is a collection of nodes. Linked list is a collection of nodes. If you assume every box what I am drawing, if it is a node, every node consisting of a data and a pointer pointing to the next node. Every node consisting of the data and a pointer pointing to the next node. Sir, it contains a data and a pointer pointing to the next node. Clear, right? So all the elements are stored at a random memory locations. We made them linear. We made them linear just by linking all the nodes together with the help of pointers. So this is something about linked list. Always a linked list will be created inside the heap area only. The size is always a dynamic. The size is always a dynamic. And coming to the logical data structure, stack, queues, trees, graph, hash table, sir, these will come under logical data structure. After storing the data into the memory block, we are supposed to perform certain operations on the data. I want to insert one element. I want to delete one element. I want to reverse the given array of values. I want to sort them. I want to search for an element. Any operation if you want to perform, we require some discipline. So logical data structures are, they define the discipline using which we are going to perform operations upon the data. So stack, what is the discipline stack will follow? LIFO. Sir, LIFO stands for last in, first out. Whereas a queue is a FIFO, first in, first out. Again, we will discuss about what is a stack and what is a queue in our coming sessions. Both stack and queue can be implemented. All the logical data structures can be implemented using physical data structure only. Sir, logical data structures, if you want to implement, they can be implemented using physical data structure only. I want to implement a stack. It can be implemented either by using array or it can be implemented by using linked list. Same story even for queue also. Stack and queue, they come under linear data structure. Sir, they come under linear data structure, whereas the remaining tree and graph, so hierarchical structure, non-linear data structure, whereas in case of hash table, the data will be stored like in the tabular form. What is abstract data type also we covered yesterday. Abstract means hiding something, hiding implementation details, showing essential functionality. The term data type is defined as how the data is going to be represented in the memory, what operations that we can perform upon the data type. The two terms together will define the word called a data type. So till today, we used several data types provided by the language developers like int data type, float data type, character data type. Certain data types are not provided by language. We need to implement them. కొన్ని డేటా టైప్స్ లాంగ్వేజ్ లెవెల్లో డెవలప్ అయి ఉండవు, ఇంప్లిమెంట్ అయిపోయి ఉండవు. ఇలాంటి డేటా టైప్స్ని మనం we have to implement them. While implementing, we need to hide all the implementation details and we need to show only essential functionality. So it is possible through a concept called abstraction. Now, coming to the today's session, sir, what is this time complexity? What is this time complexity? When we talk about time complexity, most of the people can shiver like anything to calculate the time. I don't know what is the reason. Maybe they feel that the term complex means the topic itself is a complex, not like that. If you understand the process, how to measure the time, it is very easy to calculate the time complexity also. Most of the interviews also, MNC companies will focus on the question called time complexity. They will give you one procedure and they will ask you, can you please tell me how much time it will take? Usually, sir, what is this time complexity? What is this time complexity? Even in our day-to-day life also, to do any work, first we will calculate how much time it will take. Based on that, we will decide whether to do that work, whether we have to follow this procedure or either any other procedure we will look after that. మనం ఏదైనా ఒక పని చేయాలన్నా డే టు డే లైఫ్లో, సపోజ్ యూ వాంట్ టు గో టు ఫ్రమ్ యువర్ home city to you want to travel to some city called Guntur. Sir, by bike it will take 2 hours. By car it will take 1 hour. So that if you have car and bike, both if you have, you prefer to go by car only because it will take less time, more comfortable. If you take train, within 30 minutes you may reach the Guntur, then automatically people can prefer to travel by train itself. Sir, if it is a flight or helicopter, it will take 5 minutes, then we will take the helicopter. So the time is the most precious and more important while doing any work. Even in our daily life also, we will calculate time. To do a work, based on that, we will take the decision. Assume if I want to prepare a pot, if a person manually, if he wants to prepare a pot, if it takes 5 hours, the same work if some machine, if it takes just 1 hour, which one we will prefer? Obviously mission only. Like that, sir, in our day-to-day life, we use a computer for problem solving. The work what we have to do using pen and paper, same work I want my computer to do the same work. So నేను చేయాల్సిన వర్క్ ఏదైతే ఉంటుందో ఈ వర్క్ని ఒక ప్రొసీజర్ ద్వారా నేను కంప్యూటర్తో చేయించాలని అనుకున్నప్పుడు I need to assess how much time it will take. Always remember, the time depends upon a procedure. Always the time depends on a procedure. How the procedure you developed, based on that it will take the time. Now we will take some examples for better understanding so that you will get much clarity what we are going to talk about. Sir, what is this time complexity? How to calculate the time complexity? So once if this concept is over, from tomorrow onwards we will start coding part also. We will start even coding part also. Now, sir, assume there is an array called array A. array called array A, having the values like this: 21, 5, 89, 99, 14, 10, 7, 36, 124, 100. How many elements are there? If you count the total, how many elements are there? Can you please tell me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let us remove this element. So the number of elements, sir, here the number of elements will be 10. Now, you know what is the task I want to do? What is the task I want to do? I want to search for a given element. Sir, I want to search for a given element. Sir, that element is assumed to be key. I want to check whether 985 it is there in the list of values or not. Generally, what we will do, you keep on comparing. Is it equal with the first one? No. Second one? No. Third one? No. Fourth one? No. Now, if the list contains 10 elements, it will take 10 units of time for comparison. Sir, if the list contains 100 elements, for comparison, if it take 1 unit of time to compare with the 10 elements, how many units of time it will take? 10 units of time. That means here the operation depends on size of the list. If the list size is 10 units. If the list contains 100 elements, 100 units. Sir, if the list contains n elements, how much time it will take to do this problem? Sir, how much time? N units of time. Generally we will take the time complexity with a symbol called O, order of n. Now tell me, to do this job, to perform this job, if you keep on comparing your key value with every element of a given array or given list, suppose నువ్వు అన్ని ఎలిమెంట్స్ తో కంపేర్ చేయాల్సి వస్తే n యూనిట్స్ ఆఫ్ టైం తీసుకుంటుంది. n may be 10, n may be 100, n may be 250 or n may be 5. So it depends upon the input size of the list or size of the array. So whenever a process to perform a task, if we are required to pass through all elements, the time taken will be n units and it is expressed as a order of n. So ఏదైనా ఒక ప్రాసెస్ లో లిస్ట్ లో arrayలో ఉన్న ప్రతి ఎలిమెంట్ ని కంపల్సరీగా నేను టచ్ చేయాల్సిందే, ప్రతి ఎలిమెంట్ ని నేను ప్రాసెస్ చేయాల్సిందే అనే రిక్వైర్మెంట్ కనుక ఉంటే ఇలాంటి జాబ్స్ కి ఎంత టైం పడుతుంది? వాట్ ఇస్ ద టైం కాంప్లెక్సిటీ అంటే the time complexity is order of n. Sir, assume I want to add all the elements of an array. 4 must be added to 12. 12 must be added to 36. It should be added to 7. It should be added to 10. 14. Added to 99. It should be added to 89. It should be added to 5. 5 should be added to 21. Now to perform this addition operation, if we are required to pass through every element of the given array, if we are required to pass through every element of a given list, how much time it will take? N units of time, because it depends upon the size of an array. If it contains 25 elements, 25 units of time it will take. If it contains n elements, it will take n units of time. For that reason, for this, how much time it will take? Order of n. So మీరు ఎప్పుడైనా టైం కాంప్లెక్సిటీని క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేయాల్సి వస్తే కోడ్ ఉంటేనే నేను టైం కాంప్లెక్సిటీని క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేయాల్సిన అవసరమే లేదు. ఆ జాబ్ని కంప్లీట్ చేయడానికి నువ్వు ఏ ప్రొసీజర్ ఫాలో అవుతున్నావో ఆ ప్రొసీజర్ తెలిసినా కూడా మనం టైం కాంప్లెక్సిటీని క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేయొచ్చు. బట్ హవెవర్ స్టిల్ సమ్ పీపుల్ ఆర్ హ్యావింగ్ సమ్ డౌట్. Sir, from the program, from the code, how can we calculate the time? Simple, very simple. Sir, I want to add all the elements of an array. How can I do that? For that, I can take for loop. For I equals to 0, I less than n, and I plus plus, and I plus plus. Inside the body, we will write some code to add every element of an array. So to add all the elements of an array, we will write some code. Now, can you please tell me, From this code also we could able to calculate. Sir, from this also we could able to calculate, no doubt at all. Can you please tell me, sir, this assignment will take how many units of time? 0 ని వేరియబుల్ i కి అసైన్ చేయడానికి ఎన్ని యూనిట్స్ ఆఫ్ టైం పడుతుంది? Assume 1 unit of time. Now, sir, this will be incremented how many times? Suppose n value is 5. Initially, I value is 0. 0 will be incremented to 1. 1 will be incremented to 2. 2 will be incremented to 3. 3 will be incremented to 4. 4 will be incremented to 5. Like that, 5 times incrementation will be done. So, for every time, it will take 1 unit of time. N times if incrementation is done, n units of time. సో ఫర్ కంపారిజన్ ఆల్సో ఈ వాల్యూని ఈ వాల్యూతో కంపేర్ చేయడానికి 1 యూనిట్ ఆఫ్ టైం. ఎన్నిసార్లు కంపారిజన్ జరుగుతుంది? నార్మల్గా n టైమ్స్. లూప్ టెర్మినేట్ అవ్వడానికి ఒకసారి కండిషన్ ఫెయిల్ అవుతుంది కాబట్టి టోటల్గా n+1 టైమ్స్. నౌ టెల్ మీ, ఫర్ ఆల్ దీస్ 3 blocks హౌ మచ్ టైమ్ ఇట్ విల్ టేక్? 2n+2 సార్, 2n+2. బట్ ఇన్సైడ్ ద బాడీ assume it is a simple statement. Sir, assume it is a simple statement. Simple statement usually take 1 unit of time, but this code will be repeated how many times? N times. That is the reason the code will be executed n time. It will take n units of time. Now, if you combine all these things, sir, 3n+2, we can call it as a polynomial. Sir, we can call it as a polynomial. If you are thorough with your mathematics, a polynomial is a collection of variables and constants and so on. Now, in this polynomial, any term having the highest power is considered as a degree. Any term having the highest power will be considered as a degree. That a degree or that a term having the highest degree we will consider as a order. So, in this polynomial, sir, n to the power of 1. Here there is no n, we are assuming to be n to the power 0. We will assume it to be n to the power 0. Now out of n to the power 1, n to the power 0, which is having the highest degree? Sir, this is having highest degree, and this n will be taken as time complexity and it is represented as order of n. So procedure తెలిసినా మనం టైం కాంప్లెక్సిటీని క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేయొచ్చు, లేదు కోడ్ ఇచ్చి మిమ్మల్ని క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేయమన్నా కూడా మనం టైం కాంప్లెక్సిటీని క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేయొచ్చు. So the final conclusion is, so in any job, when we are supposed to pass through every element of an array, when we are supposed to pass through every element of an array, most of the cases, the time taken for that process is order of n, sir. The time taken is order of n. Is the point was clear? The time taken is order of n. Now let us come to the second example. Let us come to the second example. Now the second example from which I want to find out the time complexity. So 21, 45, 12, 8, 49 and something called 123. You know what is my requirement? I want to compare. I want to take one element. It should be compared with all the remaining elements. Sir, it should be compared with all the remaining elements. Same story for the next element also. Sir, it should be compared with all the remaining elements. It should be compared with all the remaining elements. Same story for the next one also. Sir, it should be compared with all the remaining elements. The process should be repeated for every element. How much time it will take, I want to calculate. Once again, I am repeating. Suppose there is an element, it should be compared with the rest of elements. Sir, it should be compared with the rest of element, and the process should be repeated for every element like this. To do this operation, sir, to do this operation, how much time it will take? I want to know how much time it will take. Now, observe that Sir, observe very carefully. Observe very carefully. Sir, total number of elements. Total number of elements. N elements are there. N elements. If you take first element, it should be compared with the remaining n minus 1 elements. Am I correct or not? Sir, it should be compared with n minus 1 elements. Sir, if I take this element, do I compare this with n minus 1 elements or n minus 2 elements? Sir, n minus 2 elements. So it will take n minus 2 units of time. Sir, next element, n minus 3 comparisons. And so on. Finally, 3 plus 2 plus 1, sir. Finally, 3 plus 2 plus 1. Is it not a sum of n natural numbers program? Sum of n natural numbers program. What is the formula of sum of n natural numbers? N into n plus 1 divided by 2. But here, what is n here? We are assumed to be n minus 1. So in the place of n, you take n minus 1. N minus 1. Sum of n natural numbers ante 1 plus 2 plus 3 up to n we are supposed to consider. But here we are not considering n. N minus 1, n minus 2, n minus 3 and so on up to 1. So in the place of n, can you please substitute n minus 1 into n minus 1 plus 1, it will become n, sir, divided by 2, and it is n square minus n divided by 2. Sir, it is something called 1 by 2 n square minus 1 by 2 n. It is a polynomial. Which monomial having highest degree? Sir, this is highest degree. Sir, this monomial is having highest degree and it is to be considered as the time complexity for this process is nothing but order of n square. Sir, order of n square. Now, by knowing the process, this is the way how to calculate the time complexity. Sir, if I want to perform the same thing by using some code, how the code looks like? Ide job nenu ganaka code ras cheyalani anukunte, how can I do that? Very simple. For I equals to 0, for I equals to 0, I less than n and I plus plus. Sir, I less than n and I plus plus. So this loop is to select each and every element. First time this is selected, compared with remaining elements. Next time this is selected, it is compared with the remaining elements. Next time this is selected, compared with the remaining elements. So this is for selecting the element. After selection, the element has to be compared with the remaining elements. So for that, generally we will write one more formula. So J will start from, if you select I, comparison should be started from I plus 1 and j less than n and j plus plus. So whatever may be the job we have done, so to perform this job we have to write the code approximately like this. సుమారుగా మనం ఇంతకు ఏదైతే ప్రాసెస్ చెప్పామో ఆ ప్రాసెస్ ని కోడింగ్ పార్ట్ లో కన్వర్ట్ చేయాల్సి వస్తే అప్రాక్సిమేట్ గా దిస్ ఈస్ ద కోడ్. నౌ టెల్ మీ sir, inside the for loop, sir, this line is going to be executed how many times? N time. Sir, inside this for loop, if any statement is there, it will be executed for how many times? N time. So n times this line is executed by how many times? Again n times. It is something called n into n equals to n square time. So it is something called order of n square. So in any job, if you are supposed to write two for loops like this, you have to understand for that process the time is order of n square. Sir, it is order of n square. Right? Now coming to the last one. One more example, third example we can take. Sir, one more example we can take. Assume some 25, 45, 69, 125, 200, 300, something called 400 and 500. Assume I have selected a process like this. The process is, if I want to do a process, I have selected middle element. Middle element. Assume it is the middle element. Assume it is the middle element. Sir, the task is not completed, and I am assuming that whatever the operation I want to perform, maybe it should be on the left hand side of the list. Sir, actually it is something called a binary search. Something called a binary search. Sir, what is a binary search? You know, for example, I want to search for 7. 7 అనే ఎలిమెంట్ ఉందా లేదా అని చెక్ చేయాలి. జనరల్గా బైనరీ సెర్చ్లో లిస్ట్ గనక ఆల్రెడీ సార్టెడ్ ఆర్డర్లో ఉంటే, లిస్ట్ గనక యారే గనక ఆల్రెడీ సార్టెడ్ ఆర్డర్లో ఉంటే, సార్టెడ్ అంటే ఏంటి? ఎలిమెంట్ షుడ్ బి ఎదర్ ఇన్ ద అసెండింగ్ ఆర్డర్ ఆర్ ఇన్ ద డిసెండింగ్ ఆర్డర్. So already element is there in the ascending order. If you want to search, you need not to compare with every element. So ప్రతి ఎలిమెంట్ తో మనం కంపేర్ చేయాల్సిన అవసరమే లేదు. 0 index, it is something called index 1, it is index 3, it is index 3, index 4, sir, it is something called index 5, and it is something called index 6 and index 7. So generally binary search లో we will take the lower bound 0, we will take the upper bound 7, we will divide that with 2, sir, it will become 3. So we will take the middle element. ఈ మిడిల్ ఎలిమెంట్ తో నేను అనుకున్న ఎలిమెంట్ మ్యాచ్ అవుతుందా లేదా చెక్ చేస్తాను. సార్, 1 comparison is done. 1 comparison not found, but I am sure 7 is lesser than 125. 125 కన్నా స్మాలర్ వాల్యూస్ అన్ని లెఫ్ట్ సైడ్ ఉండే ఛాన్సెస్ ఉంది. 125 కన్నా బిగ్గర్ వాల్యూస్ అన్ని లిస్టులో రైట్ సైడ్ ఉండే ఛాన్స్ ఉంది. దెన్ అగైన్ వాట్ షుడ్ ఐ డూ? ఐ టేక్ దిస్ లిస్ట్, ఐ విల్ సెలెక్ట్ ద మిడిల్ పొజిషన్. సార్, ఐఎమ్ గోయింగ్ టు కంపేర్ విత్ ద మిడిల్ ఎలిమెంట్. సార్, ఈజ్ 45 ఈక్వల్స్ టు 7? నో. వన్ మోర్ కంపారిజన్ ఈజ్ డన్. Then there is a guarantee it may be present on the left side. Sir, on the left side only one element. Is the 25 equals to 7? No. Sir, with the 3 comparisons, I got some conclusion. Sir, with the 3 comparisons, I got some conclusion. Then how much time this process will take, if anybody will ask me? Edana oka process lo, if you are dividing the list as 2 parts, keep on dividing until the list should contains only single element. Such a type of processes will take the time complexity as a logarithmic. Every time you are dividing the list into 2 parts, and it will take order of log n base 2. Sir, order of log n base 2 will be the time complexity. Order of log n base to the 2 is the time complexity. Clear, right? Now you may have a doubt. What is the logarithmic time complexity? What is the meaning of logarithmic time complexity? When time taken by any process, if it is proportional to logarithm of input size, it is said to have logarithmic time complexity. Let me repeat once again. When the time taken by any algorithm to run, if it is proportional to logarithm of input size, then it is said to have logarithmic time complexity. Sir, what is the meaning? ఇక్కడ ఎన్ని నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ ఎలిమెంట్స్ ఉన్నాయి? లాస్ట్ ఇండెక్స్ 7 కాబట్టి 8 ఉన్నాయి. 8 ఎలిమెంట్స్ ఉన్నాయి. నౌ లెట్ us open a Google Chrome. Let us open some Google Chrome. I want to calculate logarithm of 8 something called base 2. Sir, logarithm of 8 something called base 2. Sir, how much? Anyone tell me how much? 3. Sir, it is just 3 because 8 is a 2 cube. Sir, 8 is a 2 cube, so that we can write like this. 8 can be written like this, and it is 3 log 2 base 2. Sir, it is something called a 1 and 3 ones are 3. So here, how many comparisons we have done actually? ఇందాక మీరు ప్రాసెస్ కనుక అబ్జర్వ్ చేస్తుంటే ఎన్ని కంపారిజన్స్ పట్టి? ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ 3 comparisons. Sir, exactly 3 comparisons. So is it not equals to the logarithmic value of the input size? Is it not equal to the logarithmic value of the input size? Input size 8 అయితే దాని logarithmic value కి ఈక్వల్ అయిందా లేదా మన టైం కాంప్లెక్సిటీ? So remember, whenever in any process, if you keep on dividing the list into the two parts and continuing the process until we will get a list with maximum one element, such a type of processes will take time complexity order of n log n, not n log n, sorry, order of log n base 2, order of log n base 2. So here the time complexity is order of log base 2 and n. Order of log n base 2. We are supposed to write the base 2 here. So this is all about how to calculate a time complexity. So if you understand the following 3 examples, then we could able to calculate the time complexity for any sorting technique. Sir, first of all, what is sorting? First of all, what is sorting? Sorting ante enti? Sorting is a process of arranging the elements of a given array or given list either in ascending order or descending order. Either in ascending order or descending order, we can call it as a sorting. ఒక అరే ఆఫ్ వాల్యూస్ ఒక లిస్ట్ ఆఫ్ వాల్యూస్ ఇస్తే వాల్యూస్ అన్ని ర్యాండమ్గా ఉంది, ఒక సీక్వెన్షియల్ ఆర్డర్లో లేదు. వాటిని మొత్తాన్ని ఇంక్రీజింగ్ ఆర్డర్లోనో డిక్రీజింగ్ ఆర్డర్లోనో చేసే ప్రాసెస్ని సార్టింగ్ టెక్నిక్స్ అంటారు. సార్, యు నో హౌ మెనీ సార్టింగ్ టెక్నిక్స్ వీఆర్ హ్యావింగ్? బబుల్ సార్ట్, ఇన్సర్షన్ సార్ట్, సెలక్షన్ సార్ట్, క్విక్ సార్ట్, bin sort, radix sort, merge sort, and heap sort, and also shell sort, and also tree sort, tree sort. So bubble sorting, insertion sort, selection sort, quick sort, and merge sort, bin, radix, and so many techniques we are having. But among all these things, based on the time factor, we will discuss bubble sort and insertion sort and also quick sort. One more is selection sort. So these are the techniques which we are going to cover in this course. So if time permits, we will talk about the remaining techniques also. Now, I have a small doubt. What is the criteria? What is the criteria for analyzing the sorting technique? ఏ టెక్నిక్ ఎలా ఉంటుంది, ఏ టెక్నిక్ బాగుంటుంది, ఏ టెక్నిక్కి ఎక్కువ టైం పడుతుంది, ఏ టెక్నిక్లో స్పేస్ ఎక్కువ తీసుకుంటుంది. సో ఇలా అనలైజ్ చేయాలి అంటే సార్టింగ్ టెక్నిక్స్ని వాట్ ఈస్ ద క్రైటీరియా వీ నీడ్ టు చెక్? What are the criteria for analysis? Remember, sorting techniques will depends on number of comparison. ఏ సార్టింగ్ టెక్నిక్ ఎలా ఉంటుంది, ఏ సార్టింగ్ టెక్నిక్ బెస్ట్ వన్, ఏది వరస్ట్ వన్ తెలుసుకోవాలంటే ఎక్కడ నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ కంపారిజన్స్ తక్కువగా జరుగుతుందో మేబీ దట్ ఈస్ ద బెస్ట్ సార్టింగ్ టెక్నిక్. నెక్స్ట్ వన్, డ్యూరింగ్ సార్టింగ్ వీఆర్ సపోజ్ టు ఎక్స్చేంజ్ ద వాల్యూస్. జనరల్గా ఎలిమెంట్స్ని ఒక ప్రాసెస్లో అరేంజ్ చేసేటప్పుడు కొన్నిసార్లు లేదా మ్యాక్సిమం టైము మనం ఎలిమెంట్స్ని స్వాప్ చేయాల్సి రావచ్చు. సో ఎక్కడైతే నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ స్వాప్స్ చాలా మినిమం జరుగుతాయో మేబీ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఏ బెస్ట్ సార్టింగ్ టెక్నిక్. సో ద క్రైటీరియా ఫర్ అనాలిసిస్ ఈస్ నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ కంపారిజన్ అండ్ నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ స్వాప్స్ అండ్ ఆల్సో whether it is adaptive or not. Sir, whether it is adaptive or not. Sir, what is mean by adaptive? What is mean by adaptive? For example, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. సో నేను ఒక సార్టింగ్ టెక్నిక్ కి ఒక ఏరే ఆఫ్ వాల్యూస్ ఇచ్చాను. ఆల్రెడీ ఈ ఏరే ఆఫ్ వాల్యూస్ సార్టెడ్ ఆర్డర్లో ఉన్నాయి. ఆల్రెడీ ఈ ఏరే ఆఫ్ వాల్యూస్ సార్టెడ్ ఆర్డర్లో ఉంది. సో వెనెవర్ sorted list is given to any technique, if it takes minimum amount of time to complete the process, such a type of technique is a adaptive technique. నేను నీకు ఇచ్చిన ఇన్పుటే సార్టెడ్ లిస్ట్. సార్టెడ్ లిస్ట్ కూడా నువ్వు మాక్సిమం అమౌంట్ ఆఫ్ టైం తీసుకుంటే యు ఆర్ నాట్ అడాప్టివ్. దోస్ టెక్నిక్స్ దట్ విల్ టేక్ మినిమం టైం టు సార్ట్ ద గివెన్ సార్టెడ్ లిస్ట్, it is something called adaptive. Sir, it is something called adaptive. And also, suppose, sir, some sorting techniques may take some extra memory. They may take some extra memory. కొన్ని టెక్నిక్స్ మనం సార్ట్ చేయాలంటే ఒరిజినల్ యారేతో పాటు సమ్ ఎడిషనల్ యారే we are supposed to create. That means it will take some extra memory. So, based on extra memory, based on adaptive behavior, number of swaps, number of comparison, we can decide which sorting technique is the best one and which sorting technique is the worst one. So what is the process of sorting? It is a process of arranging the elements of a given array or given list either in the ascending order or descending order is something called sorting techniques. Right? Tomorrow we will discuss bubble sort and insertion sort. That's all from